We're really excited today to be joined by Yasmin Martin, who's the Head of Risk and Compliance at the Photobox Group. Hi Yasmin.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. I wonder just initially if you could give us a brief introduction to yourself and how you ended up in the world of information security.
Sure. Just a quick background. I was a business student. I was studying for my Bachelor of Commerce, and I got a summer job at a bank, not related to security. But while I was there, I just tried to meet as many people as I could. And I met the head of the Security Operations Center, and I applied for one of his jobs, and I got it. And that's how I ended up in information security in 2005, I think it was.
So almost not by chance, but a coincidence and
Yeah.
rather than a clear intention.
Yeah, and just meeting as many people as possible and talking to them and learning about an industry that I'd never even heard about before.
And information security is such a kind of hot field at the moment with lots of young people interested in that profession. Tell us a bit about what a day in the life of an information security professional actually looks like.
So information security is a very varied industry. So depending on what you do, your day could be very different. My area of expertise is the risk and compliance, or GRC, which is governance, risk and compliance, better known in the industry. So we deal with policies, we deal with assurance, we deal with audit, regulatory requirements. That's what a typical day would be, all of those things, making sure you have the right controls in place, making sure everybody's aware of what's expected of them, projects or including security, etc. Then there's incident response people in information security, because that's a part of what we do. There's application security people. There is cloud security people. So it really depends on what your specialism in the industry is.
And the current generation of students have pretty much lived their whole lives online and mainly through social media, and that trend continues to grow. So how do you think the InfoSec industry will change over the next 5 to 10 years as people live more and more online?
I think information security started as a solution for corporates. So banks knew what it was and they were doing it. Oil companies knew what it was and they were doing it. And now it's become something that everybody has to know and act that way. So we keep hearing about the Internet of Things. You know, everything you have these days is smart, which means it's connected to the Internet, which means it's a potential threat to you from a security perspective. So I think what the industry needs to do is to make it so easy that you don't even know that what you have in your hand is something that's a potential threat, but also protected at the same time. We need to educate the users a lot more. So I think when people hear security, they just think, oh my God, that's complicated. Somebody else needs to take care of it for me. And I think what we need to do is help them learn how to protect themselves, because it's always up to the user, for example, to update their device in order to protect themselves. We allow them not to update their phones, for example. So if somebody doesn't know what the latest update does for them, for example, the WhatsApp issue that happened earlier this week, if people aren't aware and all WhatsApp says to them is, this is something to update your emojis, I wouldn't update it, right? Yeah. So I think it's just our job to make sure we're teaching people how to protect themselves.
And you've recruited plenty of people into your teams in the past, and what would you look for in a fresh grad if you were hiring right now, and what skills and personality traits?
So I am hiring right now, and one of the people would be a fresh grad, basically. What I look for, honestly, is someone who's willing to learn, because that's how I got into the industry. So I truly believe in that. Mm-hmm. When I first started, I told my manager before I applied, I said, all I know about computers is Excel. You know, I didn't know anything. And he said, you can learn anything you want as long as you want to, and as long as you're smart, basically. So I would look for a great attitude. I would look for someone who wants to work with other people, who's interested in learning, and who's willing to put in the hours, because at the beginning it's hard, you know, which is why kind of making transitions later in life when you have a family to deal with and all that stuff is a bit harder. But it's not to say it's impossible. Companies these days are so flexible, you know, Photobox Group, everywhere else I've worked, everybody understands that you need to work from home, you need to work various hours, So don't be intimidated by the fact that you don't know something. One thing I would definitely recommend, because I'm seeing CVs come through right now and it's making it really hard. If you're new to an industry, if you don't have experience and you're applying to something, put it in your cover letter that I am new, I'm looking to make a change, or I'm recently graduating, but I'm interested in entering this industry because of XYZ, or making a change because of XYZ. Because sometimes you don't know if they applied for a job by accident or if they're actually interested in making a change without having the experience.
And for those people that are applying without that experience, is it, their transferable skills from other things you look out for then?
Yeah, definitely. So, for example, stakeholder management, being able to communicate, being able to write the impact of a change or something. That is applicable in marketing, that's applicable in anywhere in technology, engineering, it's applicable in security, influencing, So talking about all of those things is really important.
And are there any common misconceptions about the InfoSec profession that you'd like to dispel from our listeners' minds?
I think people think it's complicated. People think it's something that you need to be a techie in order to get into. I'm not a techie. I understand technology, and I think that goes back to the whole being willing to learn and understand. But you don't need to be an expert at anything unless that's what you aspire to. If you want to become a really good cryptographer, then you need to be an expert at cryptography. Okay. But in general, you don't need to be a techie in order to get into the industry.
And Yasmin, have you got any final words on careers in information security and why grads should be excited about careers in that field?
I think, as you mentioned, information security, or cybersecurity as it's referred to a lot these days, is a very hot industry. But that's not one reason to get into it. I think the reason to get into this industry is because it's not going anywhere for a very long time. So through automation or through change of industry, etc., with one thing becoming more interesting than the other, everyone's going to need security. So I would say if you're looking for something that you can continue to learn for a long time, security is for you. But also security gives you very transferable skills that you can take other places. So I have spoken to other people who have moved into and out of security both ways. And no one's had trouble leaving this industry, and no one's had trouble coming back to it. So I would say it's a place that sets you up for a very good career.
Well, Yasmin, thank you so much for joining us today. If any of our fresh grads or listeners wanted to connect with you, or were interested in those jobs you are hiring with Photobox Group, how can they get in touch with you?
And just message me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, Yasmin, thank you very much for joining us again.
No problem. Thank you.